Thank you, Chief Secretary. Thank you, members of the Fourth Estate. Cabinet considered the report on the food deficit mitigation strategy, urban cash transfer program, and the movement of grain as presented by the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Honorable July Moyo. The second phase of the grain distribution is progressing well, with a significant increase having been recorded on the quantum of grain moved. The Grain Marketing Board is replenishing depots, allowing for improved distribution within the stipulated timeframes. Regarding the Zundera Mambo Ispahla Senkosi program, all chiefs nationwide have been allocated to respond to distress calls covering the most vulnerable members of the society while they are waiting for their monthly allocations. So far, 4,195 metric tons of grain have been collected by the chiefs. Pertaining to urban Cash for Cereal Scheme beneficiary registration, which is underway across urban domains, as well as data cleaning, validation, and pay sheet generation for the wards whose registration process has been completed. A total of 7 million ZiG was disbursed on the 13th of September 2024, and the distribution modalities are ongoing. As at 12 September 2024, a cumulative total of 3,859 milli-meal or maize grain had been collected under the Emergency School Feeding Program. Cabinet noted that the school feeding program has commenced well, with schools managing to provide hot meals for their learners. Cabinet considered and approved the roadmap for the formulation of the National Development Strategy 2, which will run from 2026 to 2030, the NDS 2, as presented by the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Mthuli Ncube. The development comes at a time when the National Development Strategy 1, 2021 to 2025 is coming to an end in December 2025, with notable achievements in the areas of fiscal consolidation, monetary policy restoration, the liberalization of foreign exchange market, structural and governance reforms, infrastructural development, engagement and re-engagement, investment promotion and support to the productive sectors were recorded under NDS 1. NDS 2 will be the country's second 5-year medium-term plan towards the realization of the country's Vision 2030. It will contain strategies and interventions which will ensure sustainable, inclusive growth and development, innovation for modernization and industrialization, adaptation to climate change, eradicating poverty, and promoting sustainable livelihoods of the vulnerable members of the society. The process of coming up with the NDS 2 blueprint is set to take 18 months and is scheduled to be completed in November 2025. The preparatory stages started with the launch of the economic census that commenced in May 2024 and will run until June 2025. The crafting of NDS 2 will start with stakeholder consultations to come up with national priorities, which will be the key pillars for the NDS 2 formulation and implementation. The national priorities will be crafted by 15 November 2024 followed by the crafting of NDS2 thematic working groups and strategies formulation from February 2025 to May 2025. NDS1 terminal evaluation will be carried out during the period April 2025 to June 2025, followed by NDS2 drafting from June 2025 to October 2025. The draft NDS2 will be presented to Cabinet for approval in November 2025 and thereafter launched for implementation. Cabinet considered and approved the memorandum on the mop-up exercise for war collaborators and non-combatant cadres as presented by the Minister of Veterans of the Liberation Struggle, Honorable Senator Monica Mavunga. The exercise represents the last major phase of a comprehensive verification effort to ensure all legitimate veterans of the liberation struggle are accurately recognized and appropriately honored for their contribution to the nation's independence. A total of ZiG 47.2 million has already been availed to the Ministry of the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle for the exercise. The post-vetting assessment revealed that over 90,000 war collaborators and non-combatant cadres still require vetting. It was also realized that a significant number of war collaborators were excluded due to an age limit imposed by the existing legislation. Despite their recognition by wartime commanders as being among the most agile and effective participants in the liberation struggle. The exercise is expected to commence on the 25th of September 2024. War veterans who operated in specific areas will vet war collaborators, and the wartime operational command structure has been reactivated. Detachment or zone commanders will be responsible for the actual vetting, which will be supervised by the sector or region commanders. For non-combatant cadres, the vetting will be in provincial capitals across the country and will be conducted by commanders of the various transit camps. Individuals who will not be satisfied with the outcome of the vetting process have the right to appeal in terms of Section 9 of the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Act, in terms of Section 8, Subsection 8 of the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Act. The names of the successful candidates will be listed and published in the Government Gazette for 30 days after the conclusion of the vetting exercise, in order to allow members of the public to make representations. Cabinet received reports on progress made in the implementation of priority projects for the second 100-day cycle of 2024, as presented by the Ministers of Youth, Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training, and the Minister of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture. The Minister of Youth, Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training, Honorable Tinoma Chakaire, highlighted the following achievements. The Youth Service in Zimbabwe program was successfully relaunched by His Excellency the President, Dr. ED Mnangagwa at Nakiwa Vocational Training Center in Mashonaland East Province, and 1,082 youths were recruited for the first intake at Vumba and Dadaya training centers. A youth empowerment forum was held at Nakiwa Training Center in Mashonaland East Province with 40,000 people in attendance. youths were given access to socio-economic opportunities available in key sectors of the economy among several ministries, departments and agencies and the private sector. An estimated 5 million youths were reached with drug and substance abuse and information by conducting national awareness campaigns through media houses including television and radio viewership and listenership respectively. The construction of an innovation hub at Ruwa Vocational Training Center in Harare Metropolitan Province is at 80% in terms of completion. The establishment of production vocational training units is at 65% in terms of completion. The construction of the Sinovo Vocational Training Center is underway, whilst plans are in place to construct the Umguza Dairy project. The Minister of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture, Honorable Kirsty Coventry, reported that the following progress had been recorded on projects under her purview. The resuscitation of Concession Recreation Park in Mashonaland Central Province is at 40% in terms of completion. The refurbishment of the National Sports Stadium in Harare Metropolitan Province is progressing well, with completion of the stadium water reticulation works being at 65%. The CCTV is complete. The turnstiles and venue operations control is at 50% in terms of completion, and the bucket seats installation is at 35%. The establishment of the Victoria Falls Sculpture Park in Matabeleland North Province is at 60% in terms of completion. The film strategy development is at 80% in terms of completion. And the drilling of a bore and installation of a palisade fencing at Kanyemba Arts and Culture Center in Mbire, Mashonaland Central Province is underway. Cabinet considered the principles of the Science, Technology, Innovation, Startup and Knowledge-Based Economy Promotion Bill, which was presented by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development. The proposed principles seek to foster innovation, stimulate entrepreneurship, and propel economic growth by creating favorable conditions for startups, and after deliberations, Cabinet directed that the Attorney General and the Ministry will further refine the principles and work on the policy and the administrative gaps. This will support industrialization of Zimbabwe through the promotion of science, technology, innovation and startups, the promotion of robust knowledge-based economy in Zimbabwe, and the facilitation of science and technology agencies and institutions of higher and tertiary learnings work in implementing science and technology projects for startups. The framework will also provide for the promotion of endogenous science, technology and innovation-driven industrial growth through startups. Cabinet considered and adopted the Broadcasting Services Amendment Bill, which was presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziambi. One of the major objectives of the Broadcasting Services Amendment Bill is to align the Broadcasting Services Act, Chapter 12.06, with the Constitution of Zimbabwe and also the Public Entities and Corporate Governance Act. The amendment will modernize the sector and also industrialize the sector. The enactment of the legislation will amend several sections of the Broadcasting Services Act, and of special mention is the amendment of Section 2A of the Principal Act on the role of the Broadcasting Services of Zimbabwe, which is to regulate and manage the broadcasting services bands for sustenance rather than for control of broadcasting service bands. The bill also provides a new provision which will prohibit the Zimbabwe National Road Authority and every motor insurance cover to sell a motor vehicle license and motor insurance policy respectively to individuals without the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation current radio or an exemption certificate from the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, unless the vehicle to be insured is not equipped with a radio signal receiver. The bill mandates the national broadcaster to broadcast 75% of the content as local content. Furthermore, the bill will provide for a licensee with a sports channel to broadcast 50% of local sports content in view of the fact that sporting events are universal and international sports may bring commercial value to licensees. The Honorable Vice President, retired Colonel KCD Mohadi, presented a report on the second high-level Indonesia-Africa Forum, which he attended from the 1st to the 3rd of September 2024 in Indonesia. The visit offered an opportunity to further deepen bilateral relations between the Republic of Indonesia and the Republic of Zimbabwe, as well as to foster mutually beneficial synergies. The second Indonesia-Africa Forum was held under the theme Bandung Spirit for the Africa Agenda 2063, which was anchored on the following 7 pillars: the outlook of the region and prospect of cooperation, economic transformation, mining cooperation, energy, health, food security, and development cooperation. In his address to the joint session, the Honorable Vice President, Comrade KCD Mohadi, highlighted that there is need for African countries to develop their capacity to handle global pandemics. The Vice President also pointed out that Zimbabwe had already commenced discussions with Indonesia to strengthen cooperation in the health sector, specifically in the area of pharmaceuticals. He invited the Indonesian and African investors to Zimbabwe to invest in value addition and sustainable extraction in the mining sector, as Zimbabwe has rich mineral deposits. The Vice President also paid a courtesy call on the Indonesian President, during which the Indonesian President highlighted the following issues of interest to Indonesia in its bilateral relations with Zimbabwe: Indonesia's interest to enter into a preferential trade agreement and the ratification of the bilateral investment promotion and protection agreement with Zimbabwe in order to boost levels of trade and economic interaction between the two countries. Indonesia's keen interest to enter into a memorandum of understanding on cooperation in mining. The Vice President witnessed the signing of an MOU on cooperation in the field of health between the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Indonesia, which focuses on improved secondary and tertiary health interventions, improved resilience in surveillance of pandemics, and improved leverage of technology in health delivery. The Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable July Moyo, also briefed Cabinet on the forthcoming 2024 Regional World Children's Day celebrations, which will be held in Matabeleland North in Hwange District from the 15th to the 17th of November 2024, with the official event being on the 16th of November 2024. The children will interact with their heads of state, presenting to them an updated call for action building up from previous commitments. The event will be run under the theme Educate and Skill the African Child for Posterity. His Excellency the President, Dr. ED Mnangagwa, will officiate at the event. He will be joined by heads of state from Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, and South Africa. The children will also have an opportunity to visit the Victoria Falls. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's cabinet highlights. We now move to the first set of 3 questions. Then we will get our Honorable Ministers to respond. Then move to the second set of 3 questions. Then the Ministers will respond